It's Tuesday night. About an hour and a half ago, as soon as I got home to visit my wife and children, my phone started ringing off the hook from Pentagon and other sources. And they said, hey, look at these links. Fox News is reporting that Israel just bombed a major air base just south of the Syrian capital, Damascus. And sure enough, I looked it up. But 2 hours later, hour and a half later, there is almost no other news coverage of this. That shows you how serious it is. That's U.S. coverage. I looked at European coverage. I looked at Syrian coverage. I looked at Israeli coverage. The entire Israeli military is called up. They're saying a war with Iran is imminent. And right before Israel struck 3 hours ago, CNN reported that Israel was bracing for imminent Iranian attacks. Now, all this happens with the backdrop of President Trump about 5.5, 6 hours ago, noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, so I guess that's about 6 hours ago, coming out and pulling out of the Iran deal and saying he's going to call for sanctions soon. Hey, it's fine for the U.S. to pull out of that deal. We know Iran's lied about developing atomic weapons. I'm not an enemy of Israel. I'm not an enemy of Bibi. That said, Trump knows full well that Israel and Obama and others funded the Arab Spring, funded the radical jihadis, that McCain and others helped create ISIS, and that today Russia and Syria beat the last enclave in Syria of ISIS being backed by Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is the main force behind radical Islam, Wahhabism, the whole Sunni system. They are arch enemies with Iran and Shiite Islam, and they want this war. So here's the takeaway. Israel struck a Iranian, Russian / Syrian base that has been fighting ISIS and Al-Qaeda, that has not been attacking Israel, to try to start a new war with Syria and Iran, because Russia's pulling out, because Assad has the moral high ground, because Assad didn't start the war, and Israel is wrong to be doing this. Just like I flipped out a few weeks ago when Trump bombed that Syrian air base. And I said, this is going to mean an expanded war. This is going to greenlight a larger war. And all the geniuses that didn't build InfoWars, that don't actually study geopolitics, you said, oh, Jones, you're wrong. Get back on the Trump train. Well, I'm on the Trump train. Trump's getting off the Trump train. He gave all those speeches in 2003 and 4 years before he ran for office in 2012. And all the rest of it where he said we shouldn't start the Syria war, we shouldn't be there, we shouldn't be backing Al-Qaeda and now ISIS. It's wrong. And we should be strong with Iran, but not also start wars and back Saudi Arabia. Well, now they've made the deal with Saudi Arabia. So I still support Trump on so many fronts, and I'm not going to yell and scream and say F Trump. I'm saying F the departure from what we know is the truth in our own military 7 years ago, saying they didn't want to back Obama and Hillary with the Arab Spring, with the overthrow of Syria, to put something 10 times worse, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, into power. So I said today, after the broadcast, I did an emergency report on the War Room and several others, and I said, war could easily be kicked off in the next few days in the Middle East between Israel and Syria because of this Trump announcement. But I said, I'll wait and see. I like the fact that Trump didn't immediately do sanctions. And all the rocket scientists said, Jones, the war isn't going to start. Nobody's going to strike. Well, you now see that the Iranians have said they'll strike back against all these bombings of their bases. And now Iran didn't strike back when this deal was announced by Trump. So CNN starts saying Israel's bracing for imminent attack from Syria by Iran. The Iranian forces, their regular troops, and of course their militia that is there in the country, Hezbollah, And so you'll hear this tomorrow. Israel had to strike. Missiles is going. This is a provocation. Israel has missiles, their Iron Dome, and then their Patriot system that will shoot any of those down. They were shooting them down in 1991. They were shooting them down in 2003 when we invaded Iraq. And Iran didn't fire any missiles. And so this is a pure provocation, not even a false flag, to start a war with Iran via Syria by attacking Iranian forces. They say at least 9. The UN mission there says at least 9 are dead. So they blew up a Syrian military base, probably the Russians there as well. The Russians are trying to pull out. And John McCain on his deathbed, that brain tumor, is getting its wish for World War III. It's truly sickening. So that's the facts. This happened, and it's even scarier that there's almost no news coverage. As of going live, 10 minutes ago, no coverage on CNN. British news, German news, French news, Israeli news is all over. No news coverage of this other than Fox News and Infowars.com and DrudgeReport.com has a big rundown on it. So again, I'm not anti-Israel, but Israel's a complex group of people. I'm anti-nuclear war, and I'm anti-offensive war. And we know that the rebels that just came out last week, the UN confirmed, the US government cut its funding for the White Helmets. Trump said, okay, it's true, the White Helmets staged the chemical attack. So 3 weeks after Trump launches that attack on that military base, saying that Assad launched chemical weapons attacks right when he was winning, right when that's the red line, when it makes no sense, as Rand Paul and others have said, as I've said. It's in the news, it's in the London Guardian, it's in the Associated Press that U.S. withdraws funding for the White Helmets, the whole Netflix, Al-Qaeda, ISIS movie stars, because they have been caught staging the 4th chemical attack. And hell, ISIS has been caught 52 times, according to the New York Times, staging chemical attacks in Syria and Iraq. So, peace is breaking out. Trump's trying to do peace with North Korea through strength. That was all for the sanctions. But now the globalists want to derail the peace deal with North Korea. And that's what's happening. And they're using Trump's ally, the deep state's putting pressure on him and Trump to do things like this to get off their back. Because every time they attack something, Trump or Netanyahu, the media gets off their back. So good job to the leftist media, pushing all the war rhetoric, all the Russia rhetoric, and driving Trump into the arms of the war hawks like Bolton and the rest of them. This is not surgical strikes. This is not, one attack a year to save face. This is a major, major, major escalation that mainline analysts, London Guardian, you name it, are saying will probably lead to a new Israeli-Iran war, a full-scale war. But here's the thing, it's already a war if the U.S. is routinely bombing Russian and Iranian forces that came in to beat Obama and Hillary's ISIS Al-Qaeda proxy army, Arab Spring. It's already a war if Israel, hours after President Trump pulls out of the Iran deal, which I think was a bad deal. I've supported the president, but I don't support new bombings to the proxy Israel. So is Israel the tail wagging the dog, or is the U.S. the dog wagging the tail? I think it's probably the latter. And this is really, really dangerous, and it's Trump digressing from everything he said he was going to do. He started to digress geopolitically on it. So John McCain is having his revenge tonight. And here's the big final point. My military sources, multiple sources, tell me all hell's breaking loose in Syria. The almost defeated ISIS and Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra forces are launching attacks all over the country, bombing police stations, shooting police, suicide bombing, and like the Tet Offensive, a huge new offensive is being launched to topple Assad. Well, it's not like we're toppling Assad and putting something better, and we're putting in something much worse. So Israel is trying, or the U.S. through Israel is trying, regardless, the West is trying to start a new war in the Middle East, and it's preemptively starting it And it's sad. And CNN's leading the charge with headlines still that, oh, Israel's bracing for attack. They've called up their National Guard. They're so scared right now. Oh my God, Iran's so evil. And it's not even in the news that this just happened here. I checked like 15 minutes ago. Let's look at CNN. See if they finally updated. Cohen payments linked to Russian oligarch. According to Stormy Daniels' lawyer. So that's your top story. Troops suggest legal action coming against Mueller team. Burn it. Why would Trump plead the fifth? AT&T confirms it paid Trump lawyer Michael Cohen's company. Okay, that's not illegal. CNN projects State Attorney General Mike DeWine wins. Soldier watches daughter's birth on FaceTime. Israel just attacked Iranian forces and killed a bunch of them to try to start a war. And CNN's dead silence. And the word is there's other attacks, other explosions going on all over Iran right now. All over Iranian forces in Syria. Pray for peace. Pray they don't attack a bunch of Russian forces, or the Russian forces don't respond and we wake up in the middle of the nuclear war. Because that's how most analysts say this is going to happen. And all of you out there that have lived in peace so long, do you think all this is impossible? There's some people I know that have a heart attack, can't believe it happened, or have a car wreck, or their liver fails. This stuff happens. SH, you know what, T happens. All right, that's it. Hopefully for tonight for the reports. I pray for peace and restraint. It's one thing to put sanctions on Iran. It's another thing to start bombing them when they were there in Syria going after the bad guys. But that's it for this live report. A lot more is being posted at Infowars.com, at Newswars.com, and at PrisonPlanet.com, and our European bureau that's up all night long. They're up at like 4 a.m. Europe time, so they're up at like midnight our time, 10 p.m. our time. EuropeWars.com. All right, pray for peace, folks. Israel just struck Iranian forces in Syria, trying to start a whole war. And our media, I guess, is just trying to spin it. And the Israeli Defense Forces have been called up on full active duty for an Iranian counterattack. Will there be false flags? I mean, if you're going to stage an attack to get a war going, you might as well do it, huh? That's how World War II started. That's how the Korean War started. That's what happened with the Gulf of Tonkin. That's what happened with the USS Liberty. All right, that's it. Thank you for watching. Pray for peace. Unbelievable. Oh, boy.